What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. A message to Timberwolves Nation. Before I get into this subject, I'm letting it be known to those of you who don't know where I stand with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I do not like them at all. The only person I like on this team is Ant Edwards. But as far as the rest of the roster, I am either neutral or I'm not a fan. Most of my dislike for this team is centered around Cat and Rudy Gobert. But more so Cat than anyone else. But hats off to both of those guys, as well as those other role players that stepped up in huge ways in Game 7. I was prepared to make a video of me going in on Karl Anthony Towns and having a lot of fun doing it. But unfortunately, and hopefully, I will have to save my Karl Anthony Towns hater video for another day. As the T-Wolves prepare for the Western Conference Finals matchup against Luka, Kyrie, and the Mavs, it reminded me of something. It reminded me of the 2008 Lakers playoff run to some degree. Hear me out. For those of you that remember, the Lakers acquired Pau Gasol and stormed to the NBA Finals. And if you remember, they lost in 6 games to the Boston Celtics. The Lakers were exposed for being soft, especially in their front line. And in many ways, Pau Gasol shouldered a lot of the blame as Kevin Garnett punked him. Granted, Andrew Bynum missed the rest of the season after his knee injury earlier in the regular season, but no excuses here. The Lakers were soft and failed in many areas in that series, like guarding pick and rolls, rotating around screens, and guarding the perimeter, to name a few. But I'm not here to talk about that series as much as I am here to talk about the series before it. The Lakers Western Conference Finals matchup against the San Antonio Spurs, who at the time were the reigning defending champions, as the Spurs had just beat LeBron James and the Cavaliers a year prior, swept them. Now, before the series started, I was like, oh man, we got the San Antonio Spurs now. And the Western Conference Finals. We know who the Spurs are. These are the defending champions. And every year, whether they win or lose, they roll out a championship contending roster. I was like, this is the real NBA Finals right here. If we can take down the defending champions, well then we can take down anybody out of the East, no question. And the Lakers did just that. Kobe Bryant was absolutely unstoppable, toasted the San Antonio Spurs, and the Lakers were clicking on all cylinders as they took down the defending champion San Antonio Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. I understood who the Boston Celtics were. I knew their roster. I knew their excellent defense, their great record, what KG was about, what Ray was about, what PP was about, their Bulldogs and Tony Allen, Rondo, PJ, KP, the crew. But I also watched, in that playoff run, the Celtics struggle, leading all the way up to the finals, even with a team, specifically one team that they should have absolutely swept, and the bottom-seeded Atlanta Hawks. In the first round, it went the distance, 7 games. And then they got in another 7-game tango with the LeBron James-led Cleveland Cavaliers before they were able to dispatch of the Detroit Pistons in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you can understand maybe even a little bit of how relaxed and not worried I was, or why I had that demeanor going into the finals. Maybe to some degree. Lakers had showed no real chinks in the armor. We had responded to every lick we took up until this point, including runs from the defending champions. But like in most scenarios, you won't know what chinks you have until the right person comes along that has the appropriate tools to expose you and neutralize you. I remember my brother calling me on the phone telling me about the Celtics, and I was like celebrating. We hadn't won anything, but I was celebrating. I'm like, man, I'm not worried about anything. Kobe's unstoppable. Kobe and Powell have great chemistry. The bench is playing amazing. Lamar Odom is comfortable as a third option. Man, you couldn't tell me life wasn't good right now as a Laker fan. Now, this situation with the Timberwolves has some similarities in that they took down the reigning defending champions, who many people had favorited to win it all over again. Meanwhile, you had people flip-flop on every one or two games in the series based on the strange and peculiar outcomes and inconsistencies from game to game. But that's another story for another video that I'll probably never do. But yeah, Minnesota fans and players, don't get too comfortable and that you feel like you have already slayed the most dangerous monster in your way. Listen to me. I found out the hard way. Granted, the Timberwolves won't be facing a juggernaut team like that Boston Celtics ball club in 2008, but they very well may be facing a different variation of the Boston Celtics, so as long as those green leprechauns take care of the Indiana Pacers appropriately. But you get what I'm saying here. There are some interesting similarities, and I can't tell you how often I see similar occurrences tend to play themselves out, and yet again we say some piece of history repeats itself. Timberwolves Nation, you still have 8 more victories, and while you may have beat the champs, that does not mean you took the title belt for yourselves. Just because you beat them doesn't mean you have the title belt. No, you've only removed their title belt, unfastened it, took it off, removed it, and now the title belt is up for grabs, and we have 4 teams competing for that title belt. You were just the ones that removed it from them. People often quote Kobe's infamous words said back in the 2009 finals. Job's not finished.
Still waiting for a big smile out of you. You're up 2-0. What's the story? Are you not happy, or you're only half happy, or?
Still to be happy about.
You're up 2-0.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
Okay.
But many don't really understand the message Kobe was pushing to his entire ball club. I think some people just look at it on its surface. After many people thought the Lakers were going to take it all home in 2008, and after Kobe and the Lakers walked off the Garden Court with confetti falling from the rafters and Kevin Garnett screaming, "Anything is possible!" Kobe was going to make sure they understood at the time that the job was not finished until you are hoisting up that Larry O'Brien trophy. It doesn't matter who you beat before. Doesn't matter how many games you have won up until this point in the finals, albeit up 3-0 or 2-2 tied. It doesn't matter. The job isn't finished until all opponents have vanquished at your hands. It's not over. You go hard until it's all done, all finished. Nothing left on the floor. Keep your heads in the game. Don't get complacent. Don't get comfortable. With that being said, I also hope the Timberwolves take none of my advice and falter to the Dallas Mavericks so I can drink my Karl Anthony Towns Haterade 0, meaning no carbs, and wear my playoff bandwagon Dallas Mavericks hat because I do not like the other 3 teams that are left in the playoffs. That's my rant, Timberwolves Nation. I appreciate you guys for stepping in. Like, comment, subscribe, catch the bell, stay notified, and check back here if you want to clown me every time I am saddened and disgruntled and angry that the Timberwolves are still winning. Come here to poke fun at me. Catch you on the next one. We out, baby.